So if you think that the whole world of opera can be defined on whether you are a Calista or you are a Tebaldista or you are for Netrebko or Corelli or Domingo or Pavarotti or any other two examples that you can think of, then you definitely got it all wrong. I know, and we are about to talk about it. I know that I'm going to call for this time passion for saying yes, I am with Maria and all her roles. And we have talked in the past that if something is sure is that Maria was not perfect. Still, for the fanatics, where fanaticism means there is no rationality in it, still tend to see her as as a picture of perfection while she was not. But truth is, for the same case of a more recent cases for Anna Netrebko, people who liked or who loved Anna Netrebko saw her as a portrait of the perfect singer, even or parallel at least to Callas. Of course, if you have political tendencies, then you would know that Madame Netrebko has had some troubles given the policy and the recent war in Europe. But prior to that, thinking only on prior to that, there was nothing that Ms. Netrebko would not request, ask, or demand, and that couldn't be satisfied. Same way as it was Maria, because Maria is a diva, so she deserves everything. Netrebko is a diva, so she deserves everything. What about the others? There are not any others. And as such, there is also the dilemma of the singers of the past are and will always be better, and the other side says no, the singers of the present are much better than were those of the past, and usually none of the two sides provides any rationale for to even try to justify their position. Of course, many say the singers of the past were better because they had a much better technique, and the voices of the present do not have I am having trouble in saying that, do not have that solidity in their technique, therefore they are worse, but they are not leaving room to the possibility that when you're speaking of a singer, you are not only speaking of of the quality of the technique of the voice, you are speaking of the voice itself. A singer, we have mentioned in the past, is the sum of two aspects: the instrument with which you were born and that you have no responsibility whatsoever, because that is something that you were given. Many times have we mentioned, well, Maria at the beginning, at least before she degraded her voice, had a huge, powerful voice. Was it was it something that she make to deserve it? No, she was just born with it. Anna Netrebko, a beautiful voice. Did she do anything to deserve it? No, she was just born with it. What each of them made with their technique is something that came later. And that should be the base on which we would propose or have a rationale on which to base our conversations. So if you want to go that path, you would say, yeah, there was a different and more solid technique in singers of the past, but that doesn't mean, that does not exclude the possibility that now there are good voices with good singers with good technique. Unless you tell me you know 100% of all the singers after the 90s of the past century, unless you tell me you know all the singers and you have evaluated all of them, unless you are able to do that, it is impossible that that you can simply discriminate, saying that there are no good singers in the present. Fortunately, I have shared in previous posts, if not here, at least you can find them in Kofi, where I have had very positive, very great surprises on discovering not so well-known singers who do a very, very good job. Also, when you see this world in black and white and say, hey, all the singers of the past were better. Excuse me, but there were also very bad singers in the past. So just saying that singers of the past were great and the singers of the present are poor, it's just an example of what we are about to describe now. Because this polemic of whether they are which are better, the singers of the past of the singers of the present, tell us a lot more about the way people think that about facts. And that is because we are talking about dichotomous thinking. The characteristic of seeing the world only in black and white. For people who see the world in black and white, there is no point in between. There are no other options. So, for people with dichotomous thinking, it is very easy because they say Corelli was the best tenor of all times. But you can go to the other side and say Kaufman is the best tenor of all times. And it is pretty simple because there is no rational behind it. All you have to do is to change the name of the tenors here. If you don't want Corelli on the left, just put Plácido Domingo. Plácido Domingo was the best tenor of all times. And put on the right Pavarotti. Pavarotti is the best tenor of all times. You see how easy it works? And why do you say he's the best tenor of all times? Has he sung all the tenor roles? No, 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 he has not sung all, but the ones that he sang, nobody is better in doing that. Are you sure that nobody beats Pavarotti in singing Turandot? I am pretty sure, not even Corelli. Yes, not even Corelli. Have you heard Corelli in Turandot? No, but I am sure that he cannot defeat Pavarotti. Well, even if it was better, I have mentioned before, is this a competition? Are we talking about art or are we talking about an unhealthy competition that tells us more about the people arguing about it than about the art? Of course, this tells us a lot more about the toxicity of people around trying to prove their point. And it is the same with all the other examples that I put here. For many, Tebaldi, Renata Tebaldi, of course, the great Renata Tebaldi, is the greatest spinto soprano of all times. But do the same example and put more recent singers such as Sandra Razvanovsky and do the same sentence. No, Renata Tebaldi was not the greatest. Sandra Radvanovsky is. And then a smart guy will jump in and say, no, of course not, because it was Eva Marton. Because there is no way for options in between. Why cannot we think indifferent than just black and white? And this is not something to be proud of. This is a bias of thinking. This is a lack of our rationality. This is not something to be proud of. When you say you are defending your point of view, what you are saying is that you are unable to put rationality into the conversation. Because a conversation that is in black and white and does not see any or other options in between is just condemned to failure. This is where our sentence fits. Singers of the past are better. No, the other person could say. The singers of the present are better. Why? Because we have 1,000 recordings that prove so. So you say that the singers of the present are better only because you have more recorded material available. That could sound like a poor proof, which on the other hand, going back to my favorite example, so singers of the past are better. Yes, why? Because Callas, Tebaldi, Scott, and many others are part of the past. Only because we have a good number of very good singers of the past. Does it make all the singers of the past better? Of course not. There's been bad singing in the past, and there is bad singing in the present. Moving to another example, Maria Callas is the soprano assoluta, and you need not to prove because you recall that she once a couple of times she sang Wagnerian roles and immediately followed by bel canto roles. So that proves my point that she's the soprano assoluta. Hey, wait, but Anna Netrebko has also sung heavy roles, heavy Verdian roles, and has also sung belcantista roles. So she's also another soprano absoluta. But in the mind of people with dichotomous thinking, there is no place for others. It is either my way or my way. So why cannot we think that Anna Netrebko is good for some roles and Maria Callas was good for some others? We can't bet because this is a default, this is a problem with our systems, with the way we think, because we are unable to understand that the dichotomy that guides our thinking is what leads to this toxicity in social media. A final example: the world will never see another talented soprano such as Callas, and people opposite to Callas say Maria Callas was just a marketing product. Is there not an option in between? Is it not possible to say that she was a talented soprano, but also a marketing product? There is enough evidence that she was a marketing product, but that she was a marketing product does not mean that she was not a talented singer. But the problem again with dichotomous thinking is that this limitation to open the mind to see many other options available, the moment we are able to say, yes, I can understand Maria was not the best soprano of all times, but maybe she was the best Norma, or to me, she sang a very acceptable Norma, much better than this and this and this. But just come here and think and say, this is the absolute reason, and I am in the most. And of course, because the people who defend one side or the other, they always tend to think that they are right. So if you say Kaufman is the best tenor of all times, means you are not willing to accept any contradiction to your position because you are unable to see other options. Why can't you not accept that Kaufman has, as many other singers, because in the past it also happened, Kaufman has sung many roles that are outside of what he should be doing. But you can't accept that because for you Kaufman is the best tenor of all times and everything he does is perfect. That is a limitation of your thinking. Please keep that in mind next time you read or write any comment or review in your social media.